I never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined. Won't you kiss me? Won't you play? Won't you draw me? Ain't no way I could deny you, I could stray. Won't you kiss me? Ain't no way. Want you, come and try me now. So come and try me now. I was never left alone. I never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone.
Hello everybody and welcome to another reading vlog. So it is currently Tuesday. I have only read a little bit yesterday. I read a decent amount, let's say, yesterday. So for this week, main goal would be finishing The Name of All Things by Jenn Lyons. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that when I get to a later clip in this vlog. But apart from that, I want to finish Flowers for Algernon as well, because that would mean that I have 2 out of my 5 books read at the sort of like not really midway point of this month, but close to midway point of this month. So that would be ideal to have those 2 done already. I have already read like a third of The Final Empire as well at this point in the month. So that's also already some nice progress. But basically, if you've seen my previous reading vlog, I'm reading way too much at the same time. I'm basically reading like 5 books at the exact same time. And I usually read 3, so it's not like an extreme amount, but I usually have like maximum 3, and then I usually have like one of those 3 is sort of like my main read, and the other 2 are just kind of like books that I'm reading in between, that I kind of read like a chapter of a day or something like that. But at this point in time, I'm reading 5 books at the same time, and some of those I have like read a few chapters of, but that's it. And so I really need to finish some of these books at this point in time, because I feel like I'm reading too much at the same time, and in the end you don't really read any of them, it seems. But so yeah, at this point in time I'm definitely focusing on The Name of All Things, and I am making my way through that one pretty quickly. It is a buddy read that I'm doing with Sarah from Voyage Through Worlds, and so this is the second book in a series, which I will, as I said, talk about a little bit later in the clip. I am currently working from bed. I've just finished my workday. It's just complete. So my cat has been trying to get me to put the laptop down for a little bit already, and so I'm finally going to do so. I am going to continue my quest for another potted plant. So you can see my bedroom has quite a little bit of plants already. I'm also trying to rescue this aloe vera, but I think it's probably dead inside, but okay. But I did, in my previous reading vlog, kind of clean up this room. And so meaning that over at the window, there used to be like cardboard boxes filled with like old clothing and things like that. There used to be a puzzle mat there. There was just a lot of junk that was piling up over there, and all of that is gone. So that is entirely empty now. And in a way it's nice, because it makes that there's a lot of space there. But of course I have already started thinking that that would be a perfect place to put a plant. But I'm hesitating. I'm not somebody who usually hesitates a lot. I'm somebody who is I'm easy in making decisions. I know what I want. I go with my gut a lot of the time. But with plants, it's difficult, because I have a tendency to kill off my plants. So these are all the lucky bastards that survived, though my cats really tried to kill this one, so we'll have to see whether that one survives or not. And that aloe vera sadly depotted itself. It committed suicide, you could say, because it really just one morning not one morning, one afternoon I came into this room and all of a sudden my plant was no longer in the pots. So yeah, I'm not sure whether that one will survive or not, but in any case, plants don't like me. I like them, but I kind of forget about them, or I give them too much attention, which also they don't tend to like. So for that window, it's difficult because it means that it has direct sunlight for a lot of the day. But most of the plants that I've seen for direct sunlight, I'm just doubting between them. There are some that I really want. On the other hand, and there are others that I might want. There was just one that I was like, I thought I'd found it. I thought I'd found the one, but then it said like it was a little bit more of an advanced plant. So you need to really know what you're getting into before you get a plant like that. And then I was like, guess that is not a correct plant for somebody who has been known to kill most of her plants. So we'll have to continue. I'll have to continue tonight to try and figure out what I'm gonna put there. But maybe I should just go for... There's one particular plant that I was really so close to ordering, and so probably I'll just go with that one in the end. So, The Name of All Things. So it is the second book in the Chorus of Dragons series by Jenn Lyons. And so, first one, basically we are following our protagonist called Kieran, who is a lost heir. And throughout the book we find out more about his heritage, and we go on this sort of like big adventure. It's a very complex book because it's told in 2 timelines and it's told by 2 perspectives. And at the same time, we have a 3rd perspective that's giving commentary on what has taken place within their storytelling. And that structure kind of repeats itself in the second book, but a little bit easier because a lot of the sort of like commentary on book 1, a lot of the reason why people don't like book 1 is because of its extremely complicated nature. Because especially in the first book, you are kind of thrown in, and the entire book is told as a sort of report that is sent to the sort of like ruler of this empire, or to somebody else who's part of the cast of this empire. And so both the narrator and the person for who this narration is intended have knowledge of this world, and so you are not really given, like, there's no exposition on the elements of the world building, for example. And so especially in the first one, that could get very complicated. And then there's also sort of elements of like body switching, or a character that can take on different bodies as well, for example, that adds confusion and complexity to the story. And so that is one of the main concerns about the first one, and that is less the case in the second one. Second one, basically, we're not necessarily really continuing on from the first one. We are to some extent, because just as in the first book, we have a sort of frame story in which people are telling the story of what has taken place earlier. And so that frame story is the continuation of what has taken place in the first book. So in that frame story, the timeline has moved past, but the story that we're actually mainly centering on, the story that they will be telling throughout this book, is a story of what has taken place throughout the timeline of the first book, with a different character this time around. And so in a different realm and everything like that, or different kingdom is probably a better word. So in that sense, a lot of the revelations and things like that from the first book don't necessarily matter all that much at this point in the second book. And the second book, the sort of like alternating storyline structure that is used here, is not a different timeline the way it was in the first book. So here we just have 2 characters who are alternating telling the story, but for the majority of the time they will be telling it chronologically. It's just very occasionally they will have like they will have two chapters that take place at the same timeline, but then from different perspectives. When they both had different things happen to them, for example, at that point in time. But so it is actually proving to be a lot simpler than the first one, which is nice. I mean, I very much love the complexity. I love that sort of whole structure of the first one. But I did definitely at times also feel like, am I losing something? Am I supposed to feel confused or not? And I definitely like that I don't have that feeling anymore at this point in time, and that some of the uncertainty about the first book, at least, I definitely feel like it's been proven that I kind of understood what I needed to understand about it. And what I really love about the second one is, so as I said, the story's taking place in a different kingdom than the first book was. And in this kingdom, basically, there's this whole established culture surrounding gender and gender identity. And so people within this culture definitely make a distinction between your physical sex and your sort of gender identity. So the way that they refer to the gender identity is you can be a stallion, a mare, or a gelding. And so stallion is kind of like the defender, so traditionally what we would call a man. And then a mare would be like somebody who is more takes on a more domestic role, but could be somebody like a farmer, for example, as well, somebody who's a little bit more sedentary, I guess. And a gelding would then be somebody who doesn't identify as, either stallion or mare, who identifies as a mix, I guess, or just doesn't believe in the binary, I guess. And so that's been very interesting because it's very much looking at the sort of fact that this is an established part of that culture, and that you can kind of see who are outsiders based on the fact that they don't understand that concept. And so we're also looking at outsiders who are confused by this situation. And so it's interesting, of course, considering this in light of gender identity, the way it is in our world at the moment, and the way that these things are coming more and more to the forefront, and that's creating a lot of confusion for people who aren't as aware of differences of gender identity, who don't really understand all of that terminology necessarily, and things like that. And so it's interesting to look at it like that. It's interesting to look at that perspective, but also just to look at a culture that has so firmly taken on that identity. It's very much so one of the characters that we're following is very much somebody who is female in her sex, but she is somebody who is a stallion because she is a leader. She is very much somebody who is protecting others, and who is very much taking on that sort of hero role. And so that's been proven to be very interesting. And so I'm very much very much enjoying those type of aspects. Also the fact that you can change sex for example, at this sort of like festival of the turning. So just as it was the case with the first one, it is definitely a very diverse read. It definitely has LGBTQIA plus representation in it a lot. It also has different races within it. And so I like that sort of conversation that it's going into. So very much enjoying that so far. And like the structuring of the alternating storyline, I think it felt more natural within the first book, because of I guess maybe I just didn't pay as much attention to it. It just felt, because we didn't have as much conversations between the two narrators about their storytelling, so it wasn't made obvious all the time that they were actually narrating that, and that didn't really feel like a natural conversation between people. Whereas with this one at the beginning, I did kind of feel like that sounds so forced. The fact that somebody's telling the story, and then they're alternating every so often, and they give the explanation of it's to save their voice, but it sounded a little bit forced. But at this point, the author is definitely kind of toying with it and using sort of cliffhangers at the end of chapters, and the characters themselves are also kind of teasing about the fact that they are stopping their narration at these sort of interesting parts within the story. Whereas at other points, it's also the case that they will maybe stop, for example, because something is becoming difficult for them to talk about and things like that. So I definitely think that whereas at the beginning I thought it was kind of forced to have that structure like that within this narration at this point in time, I'm like, it actually is working quite well, and I'm enjoying it a lot more now. So yeah, just wanted to give you an update on that so that I don't just continue reading it and forget to update you guys until it's like fully finished. But so I think I'm about to start part 3. I am probably a little bit over halfway of the book, I think, or just around the midway point, somewhere like that. So yeah, making good progress with this one. I haven't read anything in Flowers for Algernon yet this week. Definitely do also want to get that done. And I didn't edit today, which means I need to edit tomorrow after work. Which should be my motivation to wake up early tomorrow and get to work, move into the other room early so that I can get off work early and still have time to edit. So who knows? Maybe I'll finally find the motivation. So my takeout, my Chinese food, just arrived, but something else also arrived. So that big old box arrived. So I'm going to be leaving my Chinese food for just a little bit longer because I need to unpack this and show you guys. Hey guys, so it is less than an hour until the Basically Readathon starts. So this is a 24-hour readathon that Brit from Basically Brit organizes every once in a while. Basically the idea is that you read like the oldest books on your shelves, or the oldest book on your shelves, but Brit is always very open about the fact that you can use that readathon for whatever you want. I don't have any view on what exactly is my oldest book, though I could of course just go with any of the older books on my shelves, but I'm actually going to use this 24-hour readathon for something else. I'm going to be reading 3 books. I've definitely not finished them within the 24 hours, especially since I am going to be sleeping during this readathon, but I am going to use it for a secret TBR, for a video that you will get at some point, but so probably you won't hear back from me up until 12 o'clock lunchtime tomorrow, which is when the basically readathon will end. So my goal for today is I'm going to be reading for 12 hours today, from 12 until midnight, hopefully. Or maybe I should just do 10. No, I'll do like my 11. I'll do 11 like I usually do. So, I mean, I usually go to sleep, or, ow, something in my eye, ow, ow, ow. Ow. Alright, crisis averted, but my eye is now hurting. But so, I'll either stay up until midnight or I'll read it till like somewhere around 11 or something like that. Because usually I just go to my bedroom at 10 and then I just fall asleep after a little bit of reading over there, and that's usually around 11 somewhere. So I can either do that or I'll stay up until midnight, and then tomorrow I'll wake up around 8, I guess, and I'll have some 4 more hours. So in total that would then be like 16 hours of reading. And let me clarify, that's not going to be 16 hours fully spent on reading, because I'm not somebody who can marathon read like that, but I'll read as much as possible during that time period, and I'm hoping to, like, I definitely want to finish one of them and get pretty far into the second one. But I'm kind of hoping I can finish 2, so I'm going to kind of aim for finishing 2, but so we'll have to see what ends up happening. I just went to drop some of my books off of the on-haul that I did like from September until December. I think it took me a very long time to do the full on-haul because I was filming the entire process at the time. But so some of those books are still lying around because I don't have a car, so I just take them to the store in my trolley that I showed you, and so then I went to the grocery store afterwards. So I got quite a lot of supplies for my readathon. Got some energy drinks, got some sugars, got some more healthy snacks and things like that. So I'm hopefully well stocked to deal with this now. But so yeah, I'm going to be watching some booktube now up until 12 o'clock when we start this readathon. Alright guys, so the 24-hour readathon is just finished, so I won't give you an update on how I did. I will say, like, I finished one of the books on my secret TBR and I am 90 pages into the other one. I do want to get to the like 100-page mark in that one still today, because that is like the end of a part. And then hopefully I'll find time to continue on with these 3 books soon rather than later. But now I think I'm just going to listen a little bit more in the name of all things, because I have yet to finish a book on my TBR, and it's the 14th of March. So it's not looking great for my TBR. Now, I will say that, like, The Final Empire is the longest book on there, and I have read a third of that already. And the second longest is The Name of All Things, which I will be finishing now. So I have made some progress in the longest books on there. I'm halfway through one of the shortest ones as well. But so I need to start making some sort of a dent in that TBR to not start to sort of stress about it, you know? But so yeah, I'm just going to be watching a little bit more booktube, because I was watching an on-haul video, which I apparently really like on-haul videos. So I'm going to be watching that for a little bit, and then I'll be listening to The Name of All Things while playing The Sims, because I've been taking some breaks with The Sims during this weekend, because I really am back into the whole mood of playing The Sims. But I haven't been able to play as much as I might have wanted to, because none of the books were audiobooks. But so The Name of All Things, I will be finishing it while playing The Sims. But so yeah, I'll check in with you guys later. I did also have a late night, so I'm quite tired actually. But I do still have a second sort of like energy drink that I'd bought for this readathon, which I might need today, because like I went to bed at like 2 or something because I was watching gymnastics. So I watch a lot of college gymnastics, and I really love UCLA. And so the last 2 weeks, the meet of UCLA has been on YouTube so late. It's been like the one of 2 weeks ago only landed in my YouTube subscription feed or something somewhere this week. The one of last weekend also somewhere during the week. Whereas a lot of these college meets are online the day after, you know. But so me and a friend of mine who watched gymnastics, we both love UCLA. And so we decided to watch it live yesterday. But so that meant it started at 11 and then it went on until 1 usually. But because it was senior night, you also had a whole sort of like closing ceremony in which they honor the seniors who are just ending their gymnastics career. And so that lasted close to 2 o'clock, and then I had my alarm go off again at 7 this morning in order to still be able to read for a couple of hours before the readathon ended. So yeah, I'm quite tired, but as I said, that energy drink might be what's needed.
I never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined. Won't you kiss me? Won't you play? Won't you judge me? Ain't no way I could deny you. I could strive. Will you kiss me? Ain't no way.
Hello! So it is Monday morning. I'm going to be wrapping up this reading vlog. Ow. So I'm sitting at my desk in order to start my Monday working day. It's a short one because I'll be working only 4 days this week, so yes. But so I finished The Name of All Things yesterday, and so that's what I'm going to be wrapping up because that's mainly what I did reading-wise this week, though I did also read one book of my secret TBR. But so The Name of All Things, I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the first one more, The Ruin of Kings. I just enjoyed the story there more and the structure of it a little bit more. But on the other hand, this one was a lot more comprehensible. So at first I thought that I was going to enjoy this one more because of that reason, but I actually think that, you know, I still enjoyed it a whole lot. It's just like something was not as, like, it wasn't as amazing as I felt during the first one, for example. So I definitely enjoyed it a whole lot. There was a little bit, there was a huge sort of like payout at the end. It kind of felt almost like a Sanderlanche, that sort of like final scenes, very much sort of epic battle that it had been building up to some extent. And I think one of the problems that people might have with this one is that it feels a little bit more like meandering. It's not like a Lord of the Rings where you have a ring to destroy and you are building up to that, and so everything is strategically planning towards that plan, and then obstacles are thrown in the way and you have to deal with those. This is very much more of a sort of like story in which people are just going about living their life, but obstacles throw them in a certain direction and they have to deal with that. So it's not really, we're not really goal oriented. We're not moving towards a certain goal. We're kind of trying to deal with what is being thrown at us. And so that can feel a little bit less rewarding and feel like it doesn't necessarily pay out as much. The way in which the book is structured kind of deals with that possible problem as well, because you are kind of starting your narrative from a later point in time and then moving back for a big part of the story. So you do kind of have some sense of where it is leading to. So in this case, for example, from the beginning, you know that there is sort of a need to destroy a dragon. And so that whole first half, first 3/4 of the book in which we are recounting what has happened up until this point, you do realize that at some point there's going to be some sort of a mention of that dragon and why that dragon needs to be killed, for example. So I do definitely think that that compensates for this sort of like dealing with obstacles thrown our way sort of story arc. But that is a possibility that you might not like it because of that, for example, because it doesn't feel as for example, with a Sanderson book, you can often feel like a lot of building blocks were thrown your way at the beginning, that have led to that ending, and then you can kind of feel like how that story had been built from the beginning. With this one, I don't feel like it's there with this one, I feel like at the end, a lot of things that have happened before that, you can kind of feel like, was that needed? So if you are going to dislike, so that's something that you could dislike. I don't necessarily dislike it. It is a thought that I had, like, okay, but why did all of that happen? But that's not how life works neither. A lot of things that happen in our life don't make sense or don't really pan out in the big grand scheme of our lives, for example. And so I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing neither. So I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that whole sort of gender structure. As I said, I did kind of miss it towards the end when not a whole lot was happening with that. Kind of would have liked to see that include a little bit in that sort of like epic battle, that some sort of a that something would tie back to that sort of like gender roles and gender roles within that society sort of thing. But I enjoyed it overall. We'll definitely continue on. Very much looking forward to what is happening, because something major just went down. And so very much looking forward to diving into the third book in next month. But so yeah, that was it for this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let's see you guys for the next one. Next week I will probably be focusing on Flowers for Algernon, on the Final Empire, and then it's also going to be Becca's Bookoplaton, so who knows what I'll be reading for that one. But so yeah, see you guys for the next one. Bye.